Good afternoon and welcome back to Moneycontrol's live stream. You're watching Closing Bell with me, Lavisha Darad, and joining me, my colleague Yatin Mota. Well, Yatin, it was a wobbly Wednesday, but in the last 2 hours, it turned out to be a wonderful Wednesday. Both the benchmarks were struggling to find a direction till 1:50 p.m. And after that, we saw a healthy recovery for the markets. We are now on third straight day of gains. Sensex has settled with about 300 points gain, and even Nifty has reclaimed that 23,400 mark. The major market and mood uplifter today was definitely the financial SPAC, especially the PSU lenders. So the likes of SBI, Bank of Baroda, Bank of India, all of them gained well in today's trading session. However, what did not do well were the auto and pharma stocks. IT also exhibited some weakness throughout the day, but it did settle flat in the green. Auto also down in today's trading session after yesterday's good up move, and pharma amid the tariff overhang is still playing out. So the Nifty Pharma Index also saw a cut of about 0.1%. So I think third straight day of gains, and India VIX continues to cool off 1% down there despite a weak global handover. Can we say for the time being tariff volatility could be out of the way?
So I think a 90-day pause means that the volatility would be out of the way. Obviously, countries like China, the EU, UK continue to issue statements, for the Trump administration, which get in some volatility, but that is more on their market side. When it comes to India, obviously, we are getting regular updates from the government, which clearly provides some psychological support to the markets that the negotiations are going well. Obviously, as you're mentioning that, the overall setup of the market was quite positive. Advanced decline ratio was good. In fact, once again, today we had the bank stocks clearly outperforming with IndusInd Bank post the news gaining by nearly 7.5%. HDFC Bank, beat Axis Bank. All of those private banks have seen good buying in trade today, along with the PSU counterparts.
That's right. Some of the top Nifty gainers that included your IndusInd Bank, which was your 7% uptake after external audit showed smaller than expected impact from discrepancies of derivatives portfolio. We'll discuss more about the stock later in the segment too. Axis Bank, another private lender with 4.3% gains. ONGC with 3.6%. Trent, Asian Paints also among the top Nifty 50 gainers. On the other hand, some of the auto names were on the back foot after yesterday's good gain. Maruti Suzuki with about 1.5% cut. Tata Motors also seeing a cut of about 1%. Other than that, we can see Hindalco, L&T, all of them seeing a cut of about 1% or so. But the market flavor clearly leaned towards the mid caps and small caps away from the large caps. Yatin, what are you gathering from that space?
Overall, the markets clearly continue to be very stock specific as well as sector specific. When it comes to the overall, Nifty 500 stocks like JBM Auto, GMDC from the PSU pack, NBCC also gained significantly. Engineers India also moved nearly 8.5% in trade. What did not do well is the pharma stocks like Zydus Life as well as Lupin. After one of the blockbuster drugs has seen some bit of legal hurdles in the US markets. Suppose that the shares of Zydus fell 7% and Lupin down 4%. MGL, IGL also. Clearly, those gas stocks, after lower gas allocation from the APM gas fields, have seen a 4 to 5% cut.
All right, let's break down some of the stocks which did grab limelight today. The first is, of course, IndusInd Bank. It was the top Nifty gainer after receiving external audit on accounting discrepancies in its derivative deals. Now, the report showed about 1,900 crore rupees negative impact to the bank's net worth. Now, this hit will also be reflected in the FY25 financials. The bank had earlier estimated about 2.35% impact on its net worth, and now the external agencies have put that at 2.27%, which is marginally better, and analysts have taken this as a positive trigger. Macquarie, for instance, they have shared an outperform call with a target price of 1,200 rupees. They believe that the inline external and internal review was quite positive. On the other hand, we saw Morgan Stanley also sharing an equal weight rating with about 755 rupees as target price. And they find the loss in line with the expectation, but they remain watchful of the Q4 results and they'll continue to monitor how this pans out too. On the other hand, another brokerage firm, which was your Citi, they stayed bullish on the counter and they have retained a buy call on the counter with a target price of 890 rupees per share. Now, the succession planning is underway at the bank after the RBI extended Sumant Katpalia's by just 1 year. So we'll watch out on those developments. Yatin, the shareholding data was out and it was quite interesting because despite what we saw in the sharp fall of the stock price, 35% fall, the retail shareholding data has continues to increase.
Obviously, when institutions sell, the counterparts are usually retail investors, and typically when the stocks fall, retail tends to buy. So not surprised with that kind of a shareholding pattern. Obviously, the institutional holding has reduced. That is one worry point. Brokerages, if you were to believe, and the news report by CNBC TV18, which said that the deputy CEO and the CEO probably will find their way out after this derivative loss fiasco. RBI is not happy, and they've asked the board, to suggest names to succeed the MD and CEO. Brokerages like Morgan Stanley and others believe that the new transition, along with the new CEO and MD, would be something that they'll be watching out for. So I think the management transition, apart from the recent developments, are something that we'll be watching out for in the quarterly numbers.
All right. Coming to the next stock in focus, which also reacted well in today's trading session, that was your IRIDA, where the stock surged about 5.5%, and in 2 days it has already surged about 16%, reacting well to its March quarter results. In Q4, the company saw profit surging about 49% year on year, whereas revenue also climbed about 37% year on year. A notable improvement was visible in the asset quality, with net NPAs falling to 1% from 1.6 on a sequential basis. The loan book also expanded by about 27% year on year, and annual loan sanctions and disbursements both were at all-time highs during the quarter. Last month also, we saw the board had approved borrowing program of up to 30,800 crore rupees for FY26, and they had also revised the borrowing limit for FY25. Yet then a strong run-up for IRIDA, 2 days of consecutive gains, and given the renewable energy investment is a growing investment space, the stock may remain in focus given its PSU backing too.
Yes, IRIDA clearly a good number apart from the AUM growth, which is also quite good, high double digits. And in general, if you look at the entire renewable energy space, we have seen good traction there. So clearly, stocks like IRIDA continue to benefit. Stock almost 6% higher to close nearly about at the day's high. So good, move after the numbers which have come in. But talking about the gas stocks, today there was a huge amount of volatility. There are two events because of which the gas stocks fell. Number one is the reduction in the APM, gas allocation, which was announced by the Oil and Gas Ministry. Apart from that, we had the issue of the Delhi electric vehicle policy, because of which there was nervousness. Because for IGL, a large portion of volumes comes in from commercial vehicle traffic, because most of them are CNG cars and rickshaws. And with the government there pushing for electric vehicles, the CNG volumes could get impacted for IGL, which operates out of NCR. The latest news, according to exchange filings, MGL is informed that the APM gas allocation has been cut by 18 to 20%, which means that from the earlier 50% kind of a share of APM gas in the overall pool for city gas distribution companies, the pool falls to 40%. And the balance 60% has to get procured from the open market or from new well fields, which is slightly higher in terms of cost. Now, analysts and companies do believe that the lower APM gas allocation would mean that there will be pressure on revenues and margins. So clearly, this didn't augur well for MGL as well as IGL. In fact, MGL fell 5% in trade. Brokerages like Jefferies believe that there could be no EPS growth for the next 2 financial years for MGL, and hence they are underweight on the counter with a target of 1220.
All right, quite a cautious note coming on both the stocks. But let's move on and see an interesting report that came out by Jefferies today also. They're advising investors to dock India's port players as they expect private port players to deliver strong margins led by volume growth. Now, the top picks that have been highlighted by Jefferies remains your JSW Infra and Adani Ports. They have estimating about 18 to 22% potential upside for the stocks. The brokerage also estimates that private port players are expected to deliver about 13 to 21% EBITDA CAGR in the financial year 2025 to 30, led by 10 to 16% CAGR in volumes. Jeffries also noted that amid the tariff uncertainty, JSW Infra is better placed compared to Adani Ports, and they believe that the bulk and liquid goods, which is your mainly your domestic driven, they account for 98% of JSW Infra's volumes, with a low earnings risk from any potential global slowdown. That is why they are better placed than Adani Group, which has higher exposure to containers, which are more vulnerable to your tariff-spurred trade disruptions. Jeffries has maintained a buy on JSW Infra with a target price of 355 rupees per share. And for Adani Ports, it has shared a buy rating with a target price of 1340 rupees per share. Yatin, now with the government targeting private sector investment in port sector to 80% by another 5 years, players could set to benefit, and definitely it's a positive report by Jeffries.
Yes, it's a positive report, and they have been bullish on Adani Ports as well as JSW, Infra. Now, the main reason for both of these stocks remaining volatile in the near term is the Trump tariff, because tariffs impact the overall goods and services volumes overall. With the exim volumes weak for Concor, which was already announced, it would be very important to watch for the container movements, whether or not they slow, because a lot of people are expecting that second quarter there could be some pre-buying because of the tariffs coming in place, and there could be an improvement for exim volumes before they get lower in the coming quarters. If the US recession fears are true, then port companies probably would see lower volumes because of the overall movement of goods getting disrupted. But yes, when it comes to valuations, both of these stocks are placed well according to Jeffries.
That's right. All right. With that, we've come to an end of this edition of Closing Bell. We have Wipro results which will be coming out, and they have come out right now. So we'll be having the pressure shortly also. With that, it's a wrap from Yatin and me. Thank you for watching.
मित्रों, आज मैं आपका ध्यान वर्तमान समय में देश के एक महत्वपूर्ण विषय की ओर आकृष्ट करना चाहता हूं। नेशनल हेराल्ड केस को लेकर आज कांग्रेस पार्टी देश भर में तथाकथित प्रदर्शन कर रही है। नेशनल हेराल्ड केस भारत के इतिहास का बहुत विचित्र प्रकार का केस है, जिसमें कि कोई कंपनी जो कि 90 करोड़ की देनदारी में बिक गई, जिसके पास हजारों करोड़ की प्रॉपर्टी थी। दूसरी दृष्टि से देखें तो एक विचित्र केस है जिसमें खरीदने वाले और बेचने वाले दोनों एक ही थे। तीसरी दृष्टि से देखें तो बहुत विचित्र बात है कि यह दावा किया जाता है कि यह स्वतंत्रता संग्राम सेनानियों के कंट्रीब्यूशन से और उनकी स्मृति में प्रारंभ किया गया देश के प्रथम प्रधानमंत्री पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी के द्वारा, और कांग्रेस के दौरे हुकूमत में बंद हो गया। 2008 में बंद हुआ। 60 साल में उससे पहले 50 साल कांग्रेस की सरकार रही थी। तो सवाल उठता है कि क्या कांग्रेस अपने 50 साल के शासनकाल में अपनी विरासत को बचा नहीं पाई? जब जनता में इतनी अनपॉपुलर हो गई थी वो विरासत कि कोई उसका खरीदार नहीं था। बाकी तो छोड़िए, क्या कांग्रेस कार्यकर्ता भी अपना अखबार खरीदने को तैयार नहीं थे? जबकि राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन को उसी दौरे हुकूमत में खूब पैसा मिल रहा था। यह अपने आप में कांग्रेस पार्टी की नीयत पर सवाल पैदा करता है। और 3 अखबार थे, नेशनल हेराल्ड इंग्लिश में, नवजीवन हिंदी में, कौमी आवाज उर्दू में। सरकारी सपोर्ट तो छोड़िए, प्राइवेट सपोर्ट तो छोड़िए, यदि 10% कांग्रेस कार्यकर्ता भी इन अखबारों को खरीदने के लिए तैयार होते तो शायद उनके बंद होने की नौबत नहीं आती, या कांग्रेस पार्टी अपने फंड में से खरीदकर कम से कम अपने जिला और मंडल स्तर पे ही डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर देती। और मजे की बात यह है कि कौमी आवाज भी नहीं बिका, उर्दू का अखबार, यानी कौम ने भी आवाज नहीं सुनी। ये अपने आप में शक पैदा करता, परंतु मैं ये कहना चाहता हूं कि कांग्रेस की, ये मैंने प्रश्न इसलिए उठाए कि ये कांग्रेस की नीयत पर संदेह पैदा करते हैं। इसका मतलब कांग्रेस पार्टी और कांग्रेस को संचालन करने वाले नेता ये चाहते ही नहीं थे कि यह अखबार चले, और इसीलिए उन्होंने जो जिस कंपनी में खरीदा उसमें उन्होंने पदेन नहीं बनाया। जैसे हमारे यहां कई संस्थाएं हैं जहां भारतीय जनता पार्टी का राष्ट्रीय अध्यक्ष पदेन उस संस्था का अध्यक्ष होता है, इन्होंने व्यक्ति के अनुसार बनाया। यानी अगर दूसरे ढंग से कहें, अभी वक्फ का बिल पास हुआ है और उसको लेकर भी चर्चा चल रही है, जिस पर वक्फ वल औलाद का विषय आया था। इन्होंने तो लगता है कि जो हमारे स्वतंत्रता संग्राम सेनानी थे, उनकी प्रॉपर्टीज को भी प्रॉपर्टी अल औलाद कर दिया, यानी अपनी औलाद के नाम पर कर लिया उस प्रॉपर्टी को। परंतु मैं ये बताना चाहता हूं कि कांग्रेस की इस नियत पे संदेह सिर्फ हमको नहीं है, कांग्रेस के बहुत वरिष्ठ नेताओं को बहुत पहले से था। और आज मैं आपको कोट करना चाहता हूं, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल ने नेशनल हेराल्ड के केस को लेकर 3 मई 1950 को जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी को लेटर लिखा है, जो करेस्पॉन्डेंसेस ऑफ सरदार पटेल में स्पष्ट रूप से इसका उल्लेख है। मैं उसके बहुत डिटेल में नहीं जाना चाहता, परंतु मैं उसके सिर्फ 2 लाइनें बताना चाहता हूं जो उन्होंने लिखा। It is also bound to subject ourselves to the criticism for a manner in which the National Herald is securing assistance from the persons who are associated with the activities of the government. I need hardly add to what I have already told you about this subject. उन्होंने कहा कि मुझे इस विषय को लेकर आपत्ति है कि यदि ये हमारा स्वतंत्रता संग्राम सेनानियों का कार्य था, तो सरकार से जुड़े हुए लोग जिस प्रकार से इसमें इन्वॉल्व हो रहे हैं, वह चीज आपत्तिजनक है। अब आप आइए साहब, और मजेदार बात क्या होती है कि उसके बाद जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी लिखते हैं कि इसमें कोई खास बात नहीं है। उनके पत्र का लास्ट बट वन पैराग्राफ है, ये वो जवाब देते हैं सरदार पटेल को 5 मई को ही, 5 मई 1950 सरदार पटेल लिखते हैं नेशनल हेराल्ड के बारे में नेहरू जी को, और सेम डे नेहरू जी का जवाब जाता है और वो कहते हैं, वी ऑल आर समटाइम्स रिसीव contributions for the charitable funds or like purposes. Should they all be refused or should they be acceptable in the certain circumstances? कोई बात नहीं, बहुत सारे लोग कंट्रीब्यूट करते रहते हैं, सरकार से भी गैर सरकार से भी, तो हमें लेना चाहिए, उसमें कोई बुराई मुझे नजर नहीं आती है। अब देखिए सरदार पटेल 6 मई को यानी नेक्स्ट डे फिर नेहरू जी को लिखते हैं और वो इसके ऊपर बहुत विस्तार से कहते हैं कि कुछ प्राइवेट कंपनीज, कुछ शेयर होल्डर्स, कुछ लोग किस प्रकार से लिख रहे हैं। अब उनके सिर्फ मैं 2 वाक्य पढ़ता हूं। एक वो लिखते हैं, एज आई रोट टू यू, ये सरदार पटेल लिख रहे हैं नेहरू को 6 मई 1950, एज आई रोट टू यू आई लेफ्ट आउट एन अकाउंट कंट्रीब्यूशन which did not come from those who were concerned with the operations of the department. Otherwise, my information is that the number of contributions actually received was sufficiently large and covered others as well. अब आगे सरदार पटेल जो लाइन लिख रहे हैं वो बहुत गंभीर है। The transactions which I referred to you are of a different nature. There is no question of charity about it. जो आप कह रहे हैं कि ये तो भावना हत हो गई कांग्रेस पार्टी की, इसमें तो वो साफ साफ कह रहे हैं कि ये चैरिटी का विषय नहीं बनता है। अब सुनिए, उसके बाद दिव्य बुद्धि पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू जी की। अब देखिए, इससे बहुत साफ हो जाता है कि जो आज कह रहे हैं कि स्वतंत्रता संग्राम सेनानियों का भावनात्मक लगाव था, 6 मई 1950 को यानी नेक्स्ट डे सरदार पटेल को लेटर लिखते हैं जवाहरलाल नेहरू। लास्ट लाइन क्या है उस पर गौर फरमाइएगा, एज ए मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट द हेराल्ड इज ए फेयरली गुड बिजनेस प्रपोजिशन। and its preference shares and debentures are not a bad investment. I repeat, as a matter of fact, the Herald is a fairly good business proposition and its preference shares and debentures are not a bad investment. और जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, ये मीडिया में पूर्व में प्रकाशित हो चुका है. कई प्रतिष्ठित समाचार पत्र इसको 2 साल 3 साल पहले अपने आर्टिकल्स और जो उन्होंने रिसर्च आर्टिकल्स लिखे हैं उनमें प्रकाशित भी कर चुके हैं. अब आप सोचिए, ये नेहरू जी के जमाने से ही था कि जो निवेश हो रहा है नेशनल हेराल्ड में,